Now, without further ado, I want to welcome our guest to the air for this evening. He is former WCW, former TNA Wrestling Superstar, Angry Allan Funk. How are you doing tonight, man?
Very good. How you guys doing?
Doing great, man. Looking forward to a good interview with you. We've got some good questions for you, so if you don't mind, let's go ahead and get started.
All right, man. Sounds good.
All right. Now, my first question for you is, growing up, were you a professional wrestling fan? If so, who were some of your favorites?
Yeah, definitely a pro wrestling fan growing up. The first time I started becoming a pro wrestling fan, I saw Rocky III, so of course Hulk Hogan was one of my idols when I was a young kid. So I liked Hulk Hogan and Paul Orndorff for my heels, and then Paul actually trained me when I was in WCW, so that was kind of cool. So.
Now, was wrestling your first career choice? If not, what was?
Well, I used to be a heavy equipment operator before I started wrestling, but from day one I always wanted to be a pro wrestler, and I was just waiting for the right opportunity, and I tried out the power plant and then made it in WCW, so that was my name.
Now, during the time that you debuted in wrestling, training was a lot different than it is these days. Can you talk about your training a little bit?
What do you mean it's different than nowadays?
Nowadays a lot of at least for independent wrestling, they'll just throw anybody in the ring, as to where when you were training back at, like, the power plant, it was a lot different. I mean, they'd put you through hard drills.
Well, I don't know if you ever saw any of that stuff on the power plant that was on that, the whatever, the pro wrestling, whatever it was on A&E or whatever. It was actually, what you saw on that might not have been as bad as it really was. It was with Paul Orndorff and you had Sarge, Buddy Lee Parker down there. I mean, we were doing, 1,500 squats a day. Once we got to the new power plant, we were doing 8 hours of wrestling a day, man. Cardio getting beat up every day, so it was kind of hard to recover after doing 5 days of that. And then we'd go on the road and do all these indie shows up in Nashville and Kentucky and stuff, and then come back and then try to do, like, the Wednesday night TV tapes at first. So it was pretty rough.
Now, you mentioned that Paul Orndorff was one of your trainers. Have you spoken to him since he made the announcement last year that he has cancer?
You know what? I haven't talked to him. I had, like, 3 telephone numbers on him, and every time I try to get a hold of him, the phone numbers never work. So nobody seems to be able to dig up his phone number. So I haven't talked to him for probably a couple of years now.
Damn. What are some of your memories of training under Dwayne Bruce?
A bunch of screaming. Sarge was a good guy, man. He was just doing his job, and he was doing what, Jody Hamilton and, Paul Orndorff was telling him to do, and he was just under a lot of pressure, man, so he just had to do what he had to do, and, he really busted our asses, but, it paid off because everybody that came out of that power plant, was a pretty good talent as far as wrestling-wise goes, so, he was just doing his job.
Now, my co-host Andrew Karlick has some questions for you, so Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah, hey, Alan. Early in your career in WCW, you started on, on WCW Saturday Night, which was sort of the B show, or the C show at that point, actually, with Thunder. You started teaming with Mike Sanders as the Reinforcers. Do you have any memories of working with Mike?
Oh, yeah, it was awesome. Mike's one of my friends today. I still talk to him quite a bit. That Reinforcers was pretty funny. It was something like we came up with backstage, and we were kind of afraid to do it because Arn Anderson was one of the agents, and we didn't know what his reaction was going to be to us saying what we did. But the first time we did it was in Knoxville, Tennessee, and when we came back, he was standing right there, and we're like, oh, shit, he's going to say something. And then he kind of hugged us and liked it, so I guess it kind of stroked his ego. I'm not sure.
Yeah, getting that seal of approval from Arn Anderson is always a good thing. Whose idea was the Kwee Wee character, and were you originally in favor of it or against it?
Well, I was kind of against it, but what are you going to do, try to get on TV, But actually, I was walking to the airport with Mike Sanders at the time, and I saw Terry Taylor and Vince Russo, and we were sitting there talking to them, and they couldn't believe that I actually wore my hair straight up like that, and I was wearing it that day to the airport, and they were like, man, we might have a character we wanted to do, so I guess from there that's where they come up with it. So it's just one of those things.
Now, that character was kind of a spin-off from a character from a Saturday Night Live sketch. Were you aware of that when they pitched that to you?
Yeah, because, like the first week we did it, my name was Kwee Wee, and then they told me that they had to change the name to Kwee Wee because Saturday Night Live was going to try to sue them for the name or whatever because it was a character that David Spade played on there with Chris, or what the heck that little short guy's name he used to do, the Mango. So it's kind of like a combination of that Mango character and his cousin on the show, David Spade or whatever.
Now, while you were working as Kwee Wee, you were managed by Shurell Huffman, known as Paisley. What are your memories of working with her?
Oh, she was great, man. I like when she was a good mouthpiece, man. She was great for interviews and stuff like that. Couldn't wrestle that great at first, and then Medusa started training a lot of those women with the Nitro Girls and all those the females down at the power plant as well. So then they started learning how to work a little better. So, but yeah, I have nothing but respect for Charmel because she used to go down there and train hard as any of the girls would train down there. And I hadn't really kept in touch with her over the years, but I've always had good experience working with her. So it was always a good time working with her. Yeah,
not many of those Nitro girls had the best work ethic when it came to the in-ring work. Now, how did the character of the Angry Allan come about? And again, were you for or against that?
Well, actually, I love the Angry Allan character. That's kind of what I was doing. When we were doing the reinforcers, me and Mike Sanders, and it was a fun character to do. I was in good enough shape to do it. It was kind of hard screaming and going crazy like that, and not blowing up in the ring. But at the time, it was good. And I always enjoyed that character, and that's what I wanted to do in Japan. But then they had me doing the Funkster over there, so I never got a chance to do that over there. But it was always a fun character. It got a lot of heat, and I enjoyed doing it.
Now, were you around at the end of when WCW ended, and what are your memories of those last few weeks?
The last few weeks were actually pretty good for me. That's when Eric Bischoff was coming in. He was getting ready to take over the company. And every week he'd always, at Nitros and Thunders, he'd always come in the office and, sit there and talk to me about what they want to do with me in the future. And told me, I was going to be getting a big push, and everything he always told me came true. So, he really liked me. And then I remember that last week when we were getting ready to go to Florida for a loop, and we were going to do the pay-per-view in Jacksonville, the last pay-per-view they had, the Greed pay-per-view. I wrestled Jason Jett. That was a great show. But I remember driving down there with Kevin Nash. We were talking to Kevin Nash on the phone, and he told us that Vince bought the company, and they were probably going to be down in Florida and expect a lot of changes. And, we really didn't know what was going to happen. But, it wasn't a bad experience when we were there, but, after they picked our contracts up and then sent them down to HWA with Les Thatcher and stuff, it kind of turned into training all over again the power plant, so that kind of sucked.
Wow. Now, did you speak with the Powers of BMW about coming there after WCW folded?
Yeah, I had a meeting with Jim Ross. I live in Atlanta, so he came down to Atlanta and had a meeting with most of the guys who lived in Atlanta at that time because we were still kind of fresh out of the power plant and everybody was still living in Atlanta. So he met with us down there in Atlanta, and we had a good meeting and stuff, and they said they were going to pick up our contract and they were going to try to find stuff for us to do, but they wanted to send us down to either OVW or Cincinnati with Les Thatcher at the HWA. So they sent most of us from WCW down to HWA, and most of the guys they had down at the OVW was already guys they had, like Randy Orton and John Cena and Batista and all those guys.
Okay, so that's when that highly tally class was sort of coming up. Shortly after that, you were in World Wrestling All-Stars, and you did I thought a pretty good impression of Hulk Hogan. You were the Funkster. How did that feel doing that, knowing that he was a hero of yours? And did you ever talk to Hulk Hogan about that?
You know what? It was a fun character. It was pretty easy, and if you watch one of Hulk Hogan's matches. That's about all you had to do. So it was fun, since I grew up, watching him, and he was my favorite wrestler. It wasn't really hard for me to do it. And I never did talk to Hulk about it, but I used to be good friends with Randy Savage at that time, and I was doing some stuff with him. He used me in a couple of videos as the Funkster, impersonating Hulk Hogan, and I know Hulk Hogan really didn't like it, and he was friends with Kevin Nash, and Kevin always told him, pissed him off, and he didn't like when I did it, so, but I never talked to him myself.
All right, now, you also were in TNA for a little while, and one of your the things you did there was you were in a tag team with another WCW alum, Lenny Lane. How did that come about, and what do you think of working with Lenny Lane?
Well, working with Lenny Lane was awesome, man. That guy's a great worker. He's a good athlete. He's got a great mind for the business. We just they actually contacted me and said they had an idea. They wanted Lenny and I to be partners and do this stuff, and they come up with a name and everything. Lenny and they gave me the name Bruce. So we're Lenny and Bruce, the Rainbow Express. And we had Joel Gertner with us for a few times. He was our manager. And as soon as we got there, Jerry Jarrett and Jeff and whoever else was the creative mind at the time, they were. They promised me and Lenny we're going to have the tag team straps and we're going to be their top tag team and this and that. And then Harris and Storm come along and beat us the first match, which was fine. And then, then they had that big tag team tournament. They said we're going to win. And then they had AJ and Jerry Lynn go over on us. And so, we didn't really know what they were going to do with us. And then they eventually split us up. And then they just started using me. And then they finally just quit using both of us.
Now, also while you were in TNA, you in a way sort of revitalized the Kwee Wee gimmick, not necessarily the character, but more of the gimmick. And you won on this TNA championship. Now, whose idea was this? And I can't imagine that you were in favor of that.
Well, like I said before, when you're just trying to stay on TV, you're willing to do stuff, and for some reason I always get caught with this wearing dress and doing all this crap I really don't want to do, but sometimes it's fun to do, and if it keeps you on TV and you get paid, you kind of just go with it. But as far as I know, it was Vince Russo and Terry Taylor, I guess, and Jeff Jarrett. I guess they all come up with that, and, it kept me on TV for a few more weeks than I probably should have been on there because they quit using me right after that. So, I wasn't really for it, but I guess it was got me a few more paychecks.
Yeah, it definitely kept around a little bit longer. Now, on September 27, 2003, you were working in Helsinki. This was not a very good day for you. You worked in a tag match with Mike Sanders versus Elix Skipper and Sonny Siaki, and you got pretty badly injured in this match. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was me and Mike Sanders were working Elix and Sonny, and from what I remember, the match was pretty decent up to the point where I got hurt. Me and Elix were in the ring, and Elix slammed me in the corner. And Sonny attempted to do a split leg moonsault from the top. And if you know Sonny Siaki, he's not a little guy, so he didn't have a knee pad on him. When he'd come around with the split leg, his knee hit me right in the right side of the face, hit my eyeball, and breaking my elbow socket. My eye was hanging out of my head. Broke my nose. Broke both my eardrums. Broke my jaw. And I was pretty bad off there for a minute. I was in the hospital over there for 3 weeks afterwards. Had surgery that following Wednesday. They couldn't do surgery on me right away because I had air in my brain. And so they had to wait till that Wednesday after, I wrestled on the Saturday. They had to wait till that Wednesday to do surgery on me. And then they did full facial reconstructive surgery. They got 6 plates in my face and however many screws holding all the plates in. And, recovered from that, and I started wrestling a year to the date later. I wrestled in Japan the year after that, so, everything seems to be fine. My face is fine now. My eyes still don't make tears, but everything else is cool. I had 4 surgeries on my right eye since then, but I'm still pretty good. So I had great surgeons over there, so all my scars are in my mouth. They didn't have any scars on my face, so, you really can't tell anything happened. My right eye droops a little bit, but I guess that's pretty good considering the injuries I had.
So you don't really feel that many effects of that anymore?
I'm sorry?
So you don't feel the effects of that very often anymore?
When it gets cold enough outside, I kind of can feel it. I don't think I still got a little bit of nerve damage in my face, which I don't know if it would be the same, but, they told me that night they didn't tell me. Mike Sanders was there with me, actually, at the hospital, and they told him to come in there and say goodbye to me because I've never lived through the night. So I remember when he came in the room, and he told me that when I got back to Atlanta 3 weeks later, so that when they come in there, they told him that I was going to die that night, so he really didn't know what to expect.
Wow. Yeah, definitely Sonny Siaki is someone who's highly respected by us and probably the majority of the wrestling community because of him basically giving up his career to help his brother out. Now, after that, you spent some time in Japan, and you worked with a lot of great names, but some of them were guys like the late Jerry Toot and the great Muta. Do you have any memories about working with Muta?
Memories of working Muta, man. I tell you what, Muta's awesome. I wrestled. I had to wrestle him in the main event over there one night, and if anybody knows anything about Japanese wrestling, Muta, he's like a freaking god over there. So when the first tour I went over there, I wrestled a few matches, and then one night I was wrestling the main event with Muta, and backstage Muta told me he didn't want to do anything. Like, I was trying to ask him what he wanted to do or whatever, I was just going to go with whatever he wanted to do because I respect him so much, and I was just, I figured he would want to do whatever he wanted to do. And he told me that he didn't want to do anything. He wanted to get me over since I'd never been over there before, and he said, everybody knows Muta and nobody knows you, so you do all your special moves in Muta, and Muta doesn't do anything. And I was like, that'd be the equivalent of you working with Hulk Hogan or Rock over here and then telling you that, and it's just different over there. It's something like that's not going to happen over here. So it was great working with Muta, and I got to work with Kawada and wrestle with Kojima and all the top guys over there, man. They were all great. So I had great experiences in Japan, and I wish I could go back over there.
Now, another name that you worked with there was the late Mike Awesome. What kind of memories do you have of being around Mike?
Mike was kind of a unique person. He was pretty outspoken and opinionated, but he was a good guy, man. He was just over there trying to make money and make a living, and he was a great worker over there, and he was highly respected. And me and him and Jerry too hung out every night and played cards and whatever. And I think I kept Jerry Toot and Mike out of a lot of trouble while we were over there. So, but it was fun working with Mike. I worked with him in WCW before I was over there, so I had a little bit of background before we went to Japan with him. So him and I got along great, and we always hung out, and it was a great experience working with him.
Okay, now, most recently you've been seen on MTV2's Lucha Libre USA as a character called Chi-Chi. You're sort of a parody of Lady Gaga, so to speak. How did you first get in contact with the folks that are running that promotion?
Well, Mark Zinjak, which is Marco Corleone, he's been wrestling in Mexico for the last 4 or 5 years, ever since he left WWE, and he was with WCW as well. But I've known Mark for a long time, and I guess they contacted him, and he contacted me, and he wanted me to work with the company because him and I, got a pass, and we're good friends, and he was trying to help me out, and that's how he contacted me, and then they contacted me, and they told me they had this character they wanted me to do, which again, I get caught doing the goofy stuff with the wearing the dresses and all the crap, but it's another opportunity to get on national TV, get some more exposure, and, hopefully make a little bit of money. But that's how I got wrapped up with that. So, it's been a good experience so far. The locker room is great. All the guys that we work with are awesome, and, they're not 100% organized, but it's getting better, and it's a decent company to work for.
Yeah, I guess if someone's gonna have to do that kind of stuff, might as well step up and get that opportunity with it. Now, one of the biggest, I guess, complaints towards Lucha Libre USA is that because it's on a network like MTV, sometimes it gets filmed and it's played more like an MTV show versus a wrestling show. How do you feel as that promotion comes off on MTV too?
How do I feel about the second season?
How do you feel about how the show comes off on MTV too? Because a lot of people, a lot of the critics will say that they film it and present it like a reality show as opposed to a wrestling show.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't really. I mean, honestly, I didn't watch much of the episodes because it was on different weird times and stuff, and I was traveling a lot. I tried to tape a few of them that I've seen. To me, the production needs a lot of help. It's a company that most of the people running don't have a lot of wrestling experience. But in the second season, they hired a guy that used to work for WCW. Then they got a new production guy, and they built a studio out at the Hard Rock Cafe in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So I think all the shows are going to be produced a lot better. So hopefully the second season will be a little different.
Okay, now, do you have a river road story that you've experienced over the years that you'd like to share with our listeners?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you say.
I'm sorry, do you have a rib or a road story that you'd like to share with our listeners?
What kind of road story do you want to hear? I got a lot of road stories. I just, I'm not sure what you want to hear. How's the show rated?
Oh, no, you can pretty much tell any kind of story you want. Something that's kind of funny that our listeners might get a laugh out of is normally the kind of stories we get. But anything that strikes you as memorable, that's fine too.
Well, I do have one story I'll tell you. It involves me and Mike Sanders and one of the Nitro girls, Shay, and one of the PR guys from WCW. We were in Las Cruces, New Mexico, did a Nitro there, and then we were going to go to Arizona the next night for a show. So driving out of Las Cruces, Mike and I had spent the whole day at the police department doing some PR stuff. So we were at the police department, and they were showing us all the jail and stuff like that. So we got to know a lot of the police officers, thank God. So when we were driving out of town, Mike and I saw Kevin Nash and one of the Nitro girls, Che, was in the car with him, and then there was the PR guy in the car with him, and they were driving to Arizona. So I told Mike, I said, lean over here and put your head in my lap and act like you're giving me a blowjob. So I was driving and act like I wasn't paying attention. And so I let Kevin get up next to me driving. So him and Shay were looking, and they had the headlight on and the camera. And then I pulled Mike's head up, and we got all, I swerved a little bit and act like they caught us. And then the next thing you know, a cop turns his lights on behind us, and we got pulled over. And so Kevin takes off. And when the cop pulled us over, he actually recognized us, and he let us go. And we were speeding pretty fast, so he just told us to be careful and quit screwing around on the road. We were driving and slow down a little bit, so that was kind of funny. So then when we saw Kevin at the hotel, man, he was laughing his ass off, so it was pretty funny. We used to do a lot of stuff like that.
Well, now, if a promoter was looking to book you, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, I mean, they can email me at funkallan, FUNKALLAN, at yahoo.com. I don't really give my phone number out to too many people because I have a lot of people calling me or just being stupid or, there's a lot of people who try to book you and they don't want to send you nothing. Like, I usually ask, for like my airfare at least in the mail. That way I know they're serious or half the money because I've never stiffed anybody in 17 years of wrestling, and I've been stiffed quite a bit. So, now it's just if people aren't serious, I don't really want to waste my time.
Okay, now, do you have any final words for your fans?
I just want to thank everybody for ever supporting me in my wrestling career. Even though I've done some pretty stupid characters and stuff, and I still got a lot of support. People, always tell me I'm a good wrestler and this and that. So I appreciate everybody that ever respected my wrestling abilities. That I really didn't get to show a lot of times just because of the things I had to do in wrestling. But just ask me to continue support and watch Lucha Libre USA on MTV too, and then hopefully, maybe someday I can get back in WWE.
All right. Well, Alan, I'd like to thank you for coming on, and we certainly will be looking forward to, what goes on next in your career, and I want to tell all the fans to, make sure to watch the second season of Lucha Libre USA on MTV too.
I appreciate it, guys.